Welcome to Political Beatdown. I'm Ben Meiselas, joined by Michael Cohen. Michael, we have a lot to discuss. At the top of the show, though, let me quote George Conway, because I think what he said is kind of what's on my mind right now. He goes, "Very little about what Donald Trump does amazes me these days. Any one of the last three of Donald Trump's cabinet-level picks, Tulsi Gabbard to be the director of national intelligence when many believe she's compromised by Russia and totally unqualified. Matt Gaetz, who was under Department of Justice investigation and still under congressional ethics investigation as Attorney General. RFK Jr. to be the Secretary of Health and Human Services, who believes in banning vaccines and stopping research on drug development and infectious diseases for at least 8 years." Conway says any one of them standing alone would arguably have been the worst in American history. The fact that Donald Trump made all three of these in a span of roughly 24 hours is astonishing. Congratulations, Mr. President-elect, and everyone who voted for him on the kakistocratic hat trick, a government of idiots. And he didn't even mention there in that post Pete Hegseth, who is a Fox News weekend host, didn't even make it to the primetime slots. Fox News weekend host who has now been nominated to be the Secretary of Defense. So we went from currently the Secretary of Defense is Lloyd Austin, a retired four-star general with eminent qualifications. And then you have the Fox and Friends Weekend Edition host being nominated for the Secretary of Defense. And Cohen, that's kind of like a footnote in this week. Let me just share with you this.
If I may, you quoted George Conway. You quoted George Conway. I would like to quote George Takei. Oh my. Because some of these picks are just absolutely baffling. Others I could understand. Don't get me wrong, but some of these picks just honestly, they just don't make a whole lot of sense.
Well, Marco Rubio, senator from Florida, as the Secretary of Defense of everybody, is the most normal pick. Like you could almost that's kind of where we're at, that you kind of live with Marco Rubio and you're like, yeah, I mean, compared to everybody else, Rubio's all right.
I would have said the ambassador to Israel, being Mike Huckabee, is one that I thought made a tremendous amount of sense.
Well, you and I disagree there, and as you and I have on this show, I think post-election, and sometimes we air it out on the show, I gotta very much disagree with you. You think Mike Huckabee, who believes that Palestine should not exist, who identifies himself as a Christian Zionist. He says he won't even say the word.
I'm so sorry. I think that you're misunderstanding what I'm saying. I understand that pick from the perspective of Donald Trump and the Republican people. Not that this is what I believe. What I'm saying is I don't understand Pete Hegseth as I don't understand at all, even from the perspective of Trump. I don't understand RFK, even from the perspective of Trump, because with all due respect, and I know Donald better than all of you combined, Donald is not an anti-vaxxer. He may have become an anti-vaxxer for purposes of the campaigns, but Donald Trump is not opposed to measles, mumps, rubella. He's certainly not opposed to the polio vaccine. I mean, RFK actually is.
Yeah, I mean, here's what RFK said recently. I mean, when he was campaigning for the presidency, which he dropped out of, he said that if he were to be put in charge of HHS, which he would be put in charge of now if he gets confirmed by the Senate, he would stop research on drug development and infectious disease for 8 years. So no more research on how to cure infectious diseases. Here, watch this. Just watch him say it.
I'm going to go to NIH. My first week and I'm going to call all the division heads, and I'm going to call all the bureau chiefs, and I'm going to say, we're going to give drug development and infectious disease a break, a little bit of a break for about 8 years. And we're going to study chronic disease.
So just so everybody knows, I mean, that's what if you voted for Trump, that's what you voted for. No fluoride in water. He also says he's going to gut like 600 to 1,000 jobs right away from HHS. And look, HHS is a big bureaucracy. It deals with a lot of areas that affect us all. And this is, just you can't emphasize enough how dangerous that position is. But, then again, Cohen, did you see this? Donald Trump has created a make-believe fake government department. Like normally departments have to be created by acts of Congress, put into law, but not Donald Trump. He and Elon Musk have created the Doge. It's a meme crypto coin, which they're now calling a government agency. And Donald Trump appointed Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy to be the fake heads of a fake make-believe agency. If you look on Twitter, now X, it is given the status as an official government account. You can see the gray check mark for those who are listening on audio. It's a gray check mark for those who are watching on video. You see it right there, which signifies it's verified because it's a government or multilateral organization account, which it is not. And to masquerade as a government agency is not lawful, in my opinion. And I think that's putting it lightly. And we just have make-believe agencies. Fox hosts are now the Secretary of Defense. A guy who wants to ban research on infectious diseases is now in charge of HHS. A lady who many believe is compromised by Russia because she parrots pro-Russia, pro-Vladimir Putin talking points about biolabs in Ukraine and justifying the unlawful invasion. She's now entitled to, if she gets confirmed, of course, all of the top secret information. So Cohen, I suppose that if
I like the Doji. I like the Doji. What do you call it? The banner that they have on it. Can we put, Jeremy? Can you put that back up for a second? I think that was the puppy that Christi Noem shot in her backyard. Is that a puppy?
Is that Cricket? I don't think that's Cricket right there. But you raised another good point, because how could I forget? Christi Noem as the director, Secretary of Homeland Security, most known for killing her dog Cricket without
and the family's goat, and horses. And she's also known for moderating fake Trump town halls during the campaign, where she would stop asking questions and she and Donald Trump would say, "Should we dance now?" And then they would just like dance for 40 minutes while, and so she would dance with him, and look, what have we been saying, Cohen, to people like from the very outset? You have to pay attention. You have to be watching. You have to see this. And look, I know our audience has been watching it. Like, it pains me right now when I find out all of these Trump voters are now like Googling, wait a minute, am I going to get deported? Wait a minute. He told me he was going to support a ceasefire, but he literally just put as the ambassador to Israel someone who says that he doesn't even believe that Palestine should exist, who won't even call the West Bank the West Bank, refers to it as Judea and Samaria, and says that Palestine should be wiped out. But you signed, Donald, when you came to Dearborn, Michigan, you signed a peace plaque. You signed our peace plaque, and you said that you were going to do it. Cohen, we were warning him. We told you. What do you think? The guy lied about everything. So let me say this, like my dear friend here with us, I call her Shy Fly, Cheyenne from Hawaii. She's like, this is the clown cabinet. I want to be very clear about something that I talk about, not just on this show, but my YouTube show that I do at night, Michael Cohen show on my YouTube channel, and some my TikTok show as well. I talk about this all the time, and it's important that I just keep saying it. Come January 20th, the decision was made. It's not like anything that we do or anything that any of us say is going to change the names or the individuals that Donald Trump has now offered positions to. The only thing that is there potentially to protect us would be the Senate regarding these confirmation hearings. However, what we also know is that they're thinking about doing what's called a recess vote, which means that it just goes straight through, that there won't be even Senate hearings for the confirmation of many of these individuals. And yesterday, the big topic of conversation was Matt Gaetz. Now, got to tell you, I've had my own personal run-ins with the guy, and I will also turn around and say he's the only one, believe it or not, who actually had the balls to acknowledge what he did to me was wrong and apologized. Not once, but actually twice. Now, does that make him qualified to be the Attorney General? Probably not, right? But I do have to say, was Bill Barr competent or qualified to be Attorney General? I don't think so. Why? Because this is a guy who violated my First Amendment constitutional right, had me remanded back to prison because I refused to waive my First Amendment constitutional right, and I refused to sign a document that was counterfeit. So who knows how anybody is going to act once they get into the office. I love, and you don't get that here. You're not going to get it on Midas Touch. You're not going to get it from Ben. You're not getting it from me, where we're trying to have the crystal ball, where we can make a guaranteed determination on what will happen. Now, it's one thing if you turn around and you say, you know, I'm not going to let Michael Cohen perform an appendectomy on me. Well, I probably could do it, right? I did take AP biology, but does that make me competent within which to perform even a simple basic surgery like an appendectomy or a tonsillectomy? And the answer is no. So what we do is we just give you the facts. That's why this station, Midas Touch Network, Political Beatdown, and all of the podcasts and all of the shows that are on this network are so important, because you're not going to get our one-sided spin. You see Ben and I, we have our arguments, our disagreements on things, but you know what? We can have civil disagreements. Also because we're friends, but we can have civil disagreements even on things that are extremely toxic. And that's what you're always going to get here. You're going to get the truth, and it's predicated on facts, not on innuendo.
Make sure you also subscribe to the Mea Culpa Blue podcast right there.
Yeah, I want every single person that's following us right now, make sure that you subscribe to the Blue. I have so many people who send me that one. They say, oh, but I did it to the red one. No, red one, unsubscribe. Blue, subscribe. Plain and simple.
Cohen, this comes from the satirical, but sometimes it feels not all that satirical account, New York Times PitchBot. They say, whether it's Tim Walz, governor of Minnesota and running mate to Kamala Harris, expanding his state's school lunch program, or Matt Gaetz giving cocaine and ecstasy to underage sex workers, both sides have taken controversial approaches towards feeding children, going to the both sides nature of the way the media reports on the grave threat that, frankly, they aided and abetted to put us in at this moment. I want to share with you this. This is, I referenced the Mike Huckabee becoming the ambassador to Israel. And now we're seeing a lot of the kind of uncommitted voters who would tell people under no circumstances should you vote for Vice President Kamala Harris. They would protest her. They would protest President Biden, but not protest Donald Trump, not show up there. In fact, they often told people, if anything, vote for Donald Trump if you're not going to vote for Jill Stein. So on the one hand, you had Vice President Kamala Harris and President Biden calling for a ceasefire and a two-state solution. And you know from what Trump had previously said, he said, I want Netanyahu to finish the job, insinuating basically bulldozing it. So what's Trump's first act in office or as president-elect? Huckabee. But here's now what the uncommitted voters are saying. They're still attacking Biden. They're like, Biden, you need to do something. You need to stop him right now. You need to step up. Did you see this interview, Cohen? Here, watch this.
It looks like ethnic cleansing. It sounds like ethnic cleansing. It's an ethnic cleansing campaign in Gaza and West Bank and southern Lebanon. And Mike Huckabee was just named as the guy who's going to oversee the final stages of that campaign. And so our message right now is to President Biden, you've got to do something about this. President Biden, stand up for once to Netanyahu before Donald Trump successfully gets away with pinning this legacy of this ethnic cleansing campaign on you and you alone forevermore.
Look, you know, Donald Trump's first act when he was in office the first time, the Muslim ban, you know, he clearly showed his views towards the Muslim community, but now overwhelmingly, actually it's like 70-30, you know, Muslims and Arab Americans in swing states actually voted for Trump. And now they're still attacking Biden and saying, Biden, you need to stop Trump.
Well, I don't think they were attacking Biden as much as they were pleading with him.
They were attacking Biden.
Well, I don't know. I think that this gentleman Abbas, I think he was more like pleading. You need to do something while this is still going on your watch. But so many of our followers, our brigaders, are saying the same thing that every single one of us are thinking. Well, wait. You voted for somebody who in 67 days is going to take office. But that person now you're afraid that based upon the pick that they're going to have as the ambassador to Israel from the United States is contrary to your position, and you're imploring the current administration to do something to stop what's going on. I'm just a little bit confused, right? It seems odd, to say the least, right?
Look, I can go group by group, like the Latino men who voted for Donald Trump. I think we showed this last time. This is Latino Trump supporter. He's wearing the Trump hat. He's got the Trump wig on too, because that's how much of a Trump supporter he is. He wants to dress up like him, like it's Halloween in November. And here's what he has to say. Let's play this clip, Jeremy.
If they let in hundreds or thousands of people who already have criminal records, if deporting them creates a mass deportation, I'm all for it.
But what if rounded up in all of that are people who work on a farm? They're doing the jobs that Americans don't want to do. Does that worry you?
That wouldn't be fair. Of course, they need to make sure that they don't throw away, they don't kick out, they don't deport people that are family oriented.
The question
again, it's inexplicable. How do you reach that person? I mean, what that person, ostensibly, is a voter potentially, but there are lots of people like that, and you go through the different groups. I mean, you take a look at indigenous people.
So many of these people, Ben, all they did is they voted based on gas and groceries. And if that is your single issue, sure, makes perfect sense. But if it's also about climate change, if it's about sensible gun legislation, if it's about vaccinations, if it's about the economy, if it's about just the multitude, right? Are America's standing in the world? You may have wanted to expand your thought process before you cast your vote. You did cast your vote. The American people have spoken, and Donald Trump was the victor. Plain and simple. There's that old adage, be careful what you wish for. Sometimes it comes true. Well, Now we have to see whether or not it's going to be as bad as many people are predicting. I said to you before, and Ben got angry at me. Some of you got angry at me. I feel the way I feel, and I'll express the way that I feel. I'm hopeful that it won't be, but I'm not optimistic about it. And I want to be hopeful because I love this country and I want America to succeed. I want all Americans to succeed. Not optimistic over the next 4 years, but I can be hopeful.
We'll get there. And I wasn't angry at you so much as I was. I appreciate sometimes you trying to be an eternal optimist in difficult situations, and I reflected on that I had not gone through your own personal experience where you were actually the person testifying for like a full week. You've appeared before Congress like 9 separate times or 11 times.
Seven times. Yeah.
7 times to testify. You were placed in solitary confinement, and so
Twice.
Having experienced those for almost 60 days, having experienced those things, you know, I think sometimes none of us here, no one in the chat, no one in the comments can ever put ourselves in a situation like that until you're actually in the situation. And when you're in situations like that, you try to find the silver lining sometimes, even in the worst, because you know of the trauma that was experienced. So that's what I was more reflecting on. How tough of a situation is. Well, one more point I want to make, though. It was the perception, the wrong perception that people were making, though, about gas prices and other things, because actually gas prices were pretty much under control. I mean, they're never going to be what they were in 2010. They were only low the last year of Trump because there was a global pandemic. I mean, actually, all of the indicators, while there certainly was inflation, after the pandemic was addressed by Biden because of all the systemic issues that Donald Trump had created, Biden put it under control. So it was a false perception that was out there that was we were unable to rebut. But it was incorrect that people viewed that Donald Trump was better on the economy. Biden's way better on the economy. And what Trump's proposing with tariffs, where people are Googling what's a tariff now, these things are going to have devastating
impact. Did you see that? The #1 Google query after the election was, what is a tariff? Could you think maybe you would have wanted to Google what is a tariff before you voted? I mean, if you were so concerned about the economy, I mean, come on, folks. I mean, we're not talking about 5th grade class president who's going to promise you pizza every single day and ice cream, you know, and having soda in school instead of bug juice. I mean, we're talking about the presidency of the United States of America. And if the economy is so important, that is your issue. Like, I know people, their #1 and their main issue is Israel and only Israel. Okay, I know people who turn around and say, it's the economy, stupid. Well, if that was your single issue vote, shouldn't you have looked up what is a tariff before you cast your vote?
Well, you know, look, we'll talk about this when we come back from our first break, but you know, Trump and MAGA and corporate media, though, made this the high school election for pizza or whatever it is, right? Hulkamania, you know, they made this into a stupid competition over the dumbest stuff rather than what actually really matters. It was a total systemic failure by corporate media, which is why we're growing this platform here as well. We'll announce, Cohen, we're going to do a Patreon Zoom meeting with everybody soon. Let's huddle up. Let's set that soon. We'll talk about that actually during the break. We're going to play some of our pro-democracy sponsors now. We'll be right back. We got a lot more show after this quick break.
Push the button and save the planet. I mean, Lomi is as easy as pushing a button, and it turns your food waste into dirt in just hours, faster than composting and way easier than hauling out the trash. You see, Lomi lets me turn my food scraps into dirt with just the push of a button. It's a countertop electric composter that takes my waste and it transforms it into nutrient-rich dirt in less than, get a load of this, in less than 4 hours. I usually run it while I sleep, just like my dishwasher. And there's no more smelly trash bins. And it's quiet. It's really super quiet. You barely notice that it's even running. So think about it. Less garbage. I mean, since I got my Lomi, I'm taking out way less garbage. I mean, I used to take out 3 full bags or more of trash every single week. Now I'm down to about 1. I mean, just last night after dinner, I tossed all the leftovers into my Lomi. I hit the button, and by morning, it was dirt instead of smelly garbage bag. You see, what I love most is how much waste I'm keeping out of landfills. I mean, less trash means less methane. And with Lomi, I'm turning that waste into nutrient-rich dirt that my plants absolutely love. I mean, it is so satisfying to know that I'm doing my part for the environment without any real extra effort. Push a button, that's it. And getting my Lomi was one of the best decisions that I've made for my home. You see, I used to feel guilty about how much food waste I was tossing out into the garbage every week. But Lomi has completely shifted that. And the extra dirt that I don't need, I use for the planters outside the building. I mean, so everyone gets to enjoy the benefit. So if you're ready to start making a positive environmental impact and make cleanup a breeze, Lomi is exactly what you need. So if you're ready to start making a positive environmental impact and make cleanup a breeze, Lomi is exactly what you need. So head over to lomi.com/beat and use promo code BEAT to get $50. You hear that? You get $50 off your Lomi. Again, that's $50 off when you go to lomi.com/beat, B-E-A-T, and use code BEAT, B-E-A-T, at checkout. So say goodbye to food waste and hello to a cleaner, greener kitchen with Lomi. And with the holidays coming up, Lomi makes the perfect gift for someone on your shopping list. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. This month, it's all about gratitude. And along with the person I just shouted out, there's another person that we don't get to thank enough. Ourselves. It's sometimes really hard to remind ourselves that we're trying our best to make sense of everything. And in this crazy world, that ain't easy. So here's a reminder to send some thanks to the people in your life, again, including yourself. Therapy is helpful for learning positive coping skills and how to set boundaries. It empowers you to be the best version of yourself. It isn't just for those who've experienced major trauma. So if you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched up with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. So my friends, let the gratitude flow with BetterHelp. So visit betterhelp.com/beatdown today and get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/beatdown.
Welcome back to Political Beatdown. During the break, some more breaking news, some leaks coming out of Washington, D.C. now. This is the circus, the drama, the chaos, the torment that corporate media wanted. I, frankly, would have liked to do my little Mr. Rogers videos every day, speak calmly about building healthcare and lowering prescription drug prices and keeping the economy going and talking about protecting people's freedoms. But the corporate media, by the way, people are cutting the cord there. Like if they thought people were going to be like, now I've got to watch them, it's having the opposite effect. They're just coming to us and watching us now. But anyway, this is the chaos they wanted. Here's a new leak out of Washington, D.C. Exclusive ABC Politics reports the woman at the center of the DOJ's probe of Representative Matt Gaetz, who has now been nominated to be Attorney General, has testified to the House Ethics Committee that he had sex with her when she was a minor, 17 years old, sources say. And I think we're going to see drip, drip, drip from that ethics report, which was scheduled to be released at the end of this week. Matt Gaetz resigned his position from Congress after he was nominated to be Attorney General to kind of preempt that report from being made public. The report still exists, though, so I think that will be leaking. I'm sure any moment now we'll all see that report. But just think about it, Michael Cohen. You have Matt Gaetz, now someone who a woman, when she was a girl, 17, saying that she had sex with him when she was underage. That's who Donald Trump says, let's make that individual the Attorney General of the United States of America. It is, if you were Vladimir Putin watching what's playing out, if you were an adversary watching what's playing out, you wouldn't need war. It's Donald Trump is doing everything that you would want him to do. And by the way, Cohen, they're mocking us abroad as well on Russia state TV. What are they showing on a nightly basis? Nudes of Melania as they laugh at Donald Trump and they flash the nudes. That's their like Sean Hannity show that is up right now on our YouTube. And they literally just show Melania nudes and they go, your body, your choice, right, America? Your body, your choice, while showing Melania nudes. But I digress. Cohen.
Yes, you do digress. Look, I'm going to say this again. America had an option. And for whatever the reason might be, some people now are blaming it on Joe Biden, making the claim that he should have gotten out early on, that he knew that he was too old, but the arrogance of the Democratic Party kept him in and so on, and nobody wanted to have a proper race in order to see who was going to be the nominee because they had raised so much money. It's always about the money, all right? There's a great book that I remember reading when I was in solitary called Dark Money, and it's really true. They didn't want to have an open process because there was so much money sitting in the coffers after Biden made the announcement that he was going to run. Who gives a shit, right? Give the money back. They'll regift it. I mean, they'll redonate it. Who gives a shit? Give the fucking money back. No. Once it's in any politician's pocket, good luck. Good luck ever getting it back, no matter what. And that's the mistake. It's not supposed to be about raising $1 billion in order to have more ads and so on. This whole thing is out of control. Think about it. Every single one of you, like me, you sign up. Now, I'm actually signed up for both, Republican and Democrat. My name is still in the system from going back to 2016, 2015. And so I was getting all the emails from the Trump campaign. Of course, I was also registered as a Democrat. I've been a Democrat virtually my whole life. Well, every single day, 30 times a day, patriot, friend, need your help, more money, more money, more money. I got more requests for money than I got policy identifiers. Shouldn't they be pushing the policies? Shouldn't they be promoting the factual accuracies and debunking the innuendo more than they're asking you for money? I mean, I don't know. We've lost our way in terms of these elections with the, it's become big business. The guy that was running, for example, the Trump campaign, he made like $30 million, which pissed Trump off terribly, so he fired his ass. I don't even know how much the folks in the Biden campaign or the Kamala campaign ended up making. You bring in over $1 billion, you're going to make $60-70 million as the guy who's fundraising. That's a sick amount of money. Yeah, I know it only comes about once every 4 years, but you're talking somewhere around $17.5 million a year if you amortize it over the 4. This is bullshit. All right, let's be clear about it. It's bullshit. There should be a max amount of money. Let's say $100 million is the most that you're able to raise. And none of this dark money when it comes to these super PACs and so on, because this horse shit about you can't collude with the super PAC because then it's not really a super PAC. Nobody knows. Nobody cares. Nobody gives a shit. They're all doing it, and it's all nonsense. And you know what? I'm sick and tired of the whole goddamn thing.
Well, there was bipartisan legislation, McCain-Feingold, which reined in, not all of it, but reined in a lot of the abuses with the spending in politics. But what happened for the past 30, 40 years, the Federalist Society started growing and metastasizing and getting the judges on the bench. Then they were bringing up these cases to challenge campaign finance reform on First Amendment grounds, saying that corporations are actually human beings, and human beings who are citizens have a First Amendment right. You have a First Amendment right in the United States. So corporations have a First Amendment right to spend limitless funds. The case was called Citizen United, decided about 15 years or so ago, where the Supreme Court then set the precedent for now to basically dismantle a harmonious system. And we've seen that frequently with progress that's being made. The Supreme Court then puts its finger on the scale, and they come up with whatever justification it is, even justifications to overrule their own precedent if they don't like it, to ultimately screw we the people. You know, Governor Walz was onto something, and then he kind of stopped talking about it, where he's like, who likes these weird ideas? Like, who's sitting at the bar talking about, hey, we need corporations to spend hundreds of millions of dollars, you know, each on campaigns? Who's talking about taking away women's rights? Who's talking away? They are.
By the way, I want people to know I actually happen to know Jane Mayer personally. So yes, you know, she's the one who sent me the book while I was in prison. So yes, I do know, and it's a great book. I do also want to say this is the part where I become offended, Ben. Like really, truly offended at all this dark money and all of the money that gets raised for these campaigns. I'm still getting emails and text messages asking for more money because the campaign, and I'm talking about the Harris campaign, ran out of money. Well, how the hell is that possible? She herself raised over $1 billion. Don't tell me that you spent $1 billion. That's just bullshit. And if you know what, if you have $1 billion and you can't keep proper track on how to spend $1 billion over a period of 120 or 180 days, fuck that. You know, I have real problems with all of this shit. You know, yeah, but it's all about money, 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 money. It's, you know, shit. It's Donald Trump's song. Money, 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 money. You know, let's go right back to The Apprentice.
Well, what else do you basically throw in a bunch of people who, you know, are kind of past their prime, if you will, or, you know, who are controversial and have lots of issues, and you throw them together and you have them basically fight it out or duke it out? I mean, he's basically turned our cabinet selection process into The Apprentice, but we the people suffer. This is serious business of the government. Lots of people are asking, though, about whether or not Donald Trump will do what's called recess appointments and try to do an end run around the Senate so that the Senate doesn't have its advice and consent function, which means its confirmation function. Now, I think with John Thune, who's now the majority leader, he's a senator from South Dakota. He's not who MAGA wanted. You know, this is where we're left to kind of like find some of the crumbs to latch onto about, like, well, here's a good piece of news. Mitch McConnell. It's never a good story when you're like, here's a good piece of news. Mitch McConnell, and start off with that. So Mitch McConnell, who MAGA hates because they think McConnell is not MAGA enough, despite helping Donald Trump stack the bench with all these right-wing extremists, his handpicked successor was John Thune. MAGA wanted Rick Scott, the MAGA Republican senator from Florida, who was involved in the biggest healthcare, Medicare fraud scam in American history. He invoked the Fifth Amendment over 75 separate times. So Rick Scott lost. John Thune is now the majority leader. And John Thune, though, is an institutionalist, right? He is someone who believes that the Senate should have an advice and consent function, that there should be a confirmation process and a confirmation hearing. So I think Thune is going to say, no, we have to go through the process. Let's go through the process. Now, what Trump's setting up right now is to break the process right away. Let me just show you Thune so you can all see what he said after he was elected within the Republican caucus to be their majority leader. Here, play this clip.
Do you have any concerns about President Trump's cabinet picks so far, and what advice will you give him when it comes to choosing nominees who will pass Senate confirmation?
Well, as you know, the Senate has a advise and consent role under the Constitution, so we will do everything we can to process his noms quickly, get them installed in their position so they can begin to implement his agenda.
Leader Thune, you've said that recess appointments are on the table. That's a key demand from President-elect Donald Trump. Will you move forward with that?
Well, what we're going to do is make sure that we are processing his nominees in a way that gets them into those positions so they can implement his agenda. How that happens remains to be seen. You know, obviously, we want to make sure our committees have confirmation hearings like they typically do, and that these nominees reported out to the floor. But I've said this, and I mean it, that we expect a level of cooperation from the Democrats to work with us to get these folks installed. And obviously, we're going to look at explore all options to make sure that they get moved and that they get moved quickly.
So he's speaking in a bit of coded language there, but what he's saying is that under the Constitution, it's not discretionary. It's actually an obligation of the Senate to perform an advice and consent, which means it's confirmation duty. So what he's saying there is we're gonna do it. We expect, if these candidates are normal, for Democrats not to screw with the normies, not to screw with, and here we're talking about people like Marco Rubio, who in other times there would be issues with, but he's basically saying that. But he's saying, no, we expect to have hearings. So now what Trump is doing, and this is where I've always said, if you give Trump an inch, he takes your life. He takes everything. So despite them trying to make the process easy, Trump wants to break the whole process. And right now what he's setting up is, I'm going to put the most ludicrous people, I'm going to try to break you now. And if there is a silver lining, it's that conflict, rather than being drip, 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 it's going to happen right away. There's going to be the chaos and tumult and drama and torment and pain and hardship and suffering right now, and potentially throughout this 4 years. But he's doing the showdown right now. And the question is, will the Senate just totally break? And if it breaks, will there be a concomitant reaction by the people right away when all of this drama happens on the Hill and everyone's pissed? We'll be right back after our last quick break of the show.
You know, it's funny how someone who doesn't even have a cat is doing an ad for a cat food company. You see, a short time ago, I received a massive box filled with food and a few toys. So what did I do? I took it over to my next door neighbor, who I know has a cat. And she told me that she heard of this company and was actually eager to try it out on her cat, Marlo. And a few days later, it was amazing. There was a package delivered to my apartment from my neighbor with a dozen of the greatest chocolate chip cookies that you can imagine, because she knows that I love them. And in it was really a beautiful note. And it said, "Thank you from the bottom of Marlo's heart. He loved it." So I guess that the adage, happy cat, happy life, or something like that, applies here. And that's why if you have a cat, you've got to try Smalls. It's time to make kibble a thing of the past. You see, Smalls cat food is protein-packed recipes are made with preservative-free ingredients that you'd find in your own fridge. And it's delivered right to your door. That's why veterinarians.org rates Smalls 10 out of 10 for ingredient quality. I mean, as does my neighbor. And I can attest that Marlowe prefers Small's way more than his previous cat food. I mean, my neighbor told me that she did a taste test. She put 2 bowls side by side, and Marlowe immediately went to Small's. So here's a little company history. Small's was started back in 2017 by a couple of guys home cooking cat food in small batches for their feline friends. And a few short years later, they've served millions. Listen to that. They've served millions of meals to cats across the United States. I mean, no more stinky and smelly old cat food or leaving the house smelling like cat food yourself. Feel better knowing that you're feeding your cat real food, not burnt kibble. So at this point, you may be wondering to yourself, why can't you just feed your cat kibble? Well, believe it or not, your cute kitty descended from ferocious desert cats who hunted live prey for food. And guess what? Your cat isn't any different. They still need fresh, protein-packed meals to be at their best. Now, other cat food brands know this, but they choose to put their wallets first. They fill their food with some mysterious meat byproducts, artificial flavoring, and preservatives who have names that I don't even want to try to pronounce. And if that sounds gross, imagine having to eat it every day. After making the switch to Smalls, 88% of cat owners have reported overall health improvements, and that's a really big deal. But the team at Smalls, they're so confident that your cat will love their product that you can actually try it risk-free. That means that they'll refund you if your cat won't eat their food. Now is the time to make the switch to Smalls. So head right now to smalls.com/beat and use promo code BEAT, B-E-A-T, at checkout for, listen to this, for 50% off your first order plus free shipping. I mean, that's the best offer that you'll find, but you have to use my code BEAT, B-E-A-T, for 50% off your first order. So one last time, that's promo code BEAT, B-E-A-T, for 50% off your first order plus free shipping. Try it now.
Welcome back to Political Beatdown. I know we've got a lot of viewers who have cats, and definitely try it out. The links to the discount codes and to all of those products are in the description below. You know, President Biden, gracious as always, actually invited Donald Trump into the White House. Melania refused to show up. You had Dr. Jill Biden, President Biden, and Donald Trump. Melania put out this statement: Mrs. Trump will not be attending today's meeting at the White House. Her husband's return to the Oval Office to commence the transition process is encouraging, and she wishes him great success. In this instance, several unnamed sources in the media continue to provide false, misleading, and inaccurate information. Be discerning with your source of news. Is this like AI, or did AI write this, or did Borat write this? Her husband's return to Oval Office to commence the transition is great success. I mean,
It's
like,
nice. I like.
Very nice, great success.
Great success.
But she did have time to do this. This is what she's spending her time doing right now, Michael Cohen. She posted on the move a series of new photographs capturing my journey. Each image showcases the art of being present while moving forward in an exciting new world at melaniatrump.com. This is a real post by her. I don't even know what that means. The art of being present while moving forward into an exciting... I genuinely don't even know what the heck that means. But you click the link, and what is she doing right now? For $195, Michael Cohen, you can buy this photograph of her underneath Trump's airplane and see her doing the art of being present while moving forward in an exciting new world. And then, by the way, because our media networks, and Fox particularly, is even worse than Kim Jong-un state-run media, they wrote the article on this. Melania Trump launches On the Move digital photo series highlighting her fast-moving life. The $195 collection includes 16 digital images showcasing Trump. Oh, and by the way, Cohen, for the bargain price of $9.99, do you know what you could buy? You could buy a fake $500 Melania bill. It's only $9.99.
Wait, it was originally $20, so it's a good deal.
Michael Cohen, look, you said it. We were warning, the Midas Mighty were warning people about this. There's a reason, though, why our adversaries are giddy, right? They are laughing in our faces, and our allies right now are worried, and they're nervous, and they've pretty much given up on us. They're now meeting in various parliaments talking about, all right, America's gone. America is gone. I think, Jeremy, we have the video in the UK Parliament where Ed Davey speaking to the Prime Minister in the UK, because Don Jr. keeps posting on Instagram these memes where he mocks Zelensky with dollar bills and says, "See you, Zelensky. See you later, Zelensky. We're not helping you no more." And so in real serious places in other countries, here's the type of dialogue that we're seeing. Here, play this.
A senior advisor to President-elect Trump, Donald Trump Jr., has shared a post on Instagram that declares that President Zelensky will soon, within the next few weeks, lose his allowance. If the Trump administration does withdraw support from our brave Ukrainian allies, will the UK and Europe step up to fill the gap? Will he seize frozen Russian assets, not just the interest, but the assets underlying that, so we can fund a huge boost to the Ukrainian forces in their fight against Putin's war machine?
Mr. Speaker, as he knows, we've been resolute and strong in our support for Ukraine in the face of Russian aggression. And I have been speaking, as he will know, in recent weeks with other leaders about how we put Ukraine in the best and strongest possible position at this time. And I'll continue those discussions. Thank you.
I saw lots of people in the comments who are from other countries. We have a big international audience. And they're not from democracy-loving countries. They're not laughing. I want to make that distinction. They are sad because they know that they're nervous, they're sad, and they know that America's gone. They have written us off now, and they know the great United States of America is now a Putin satellite at this point, sold off to billionaires, sold off to oligarchs. And it is a sad realization, but it's something that we have to recognize, and we have to fight back against it, Cohen.
Yeah. So let me say, I was having a hard time thinking who really kind of deserves the two-finger salute today. And I believe that the two-finger salute has to go to the trolls that are trying to troll us and trying to make you believe that every single thing that we tell you is not true. It's all made up. Cohen's a liar and so on. Oh, it's not true. He's not still getting emails and texts from the team Harris-Walz campaign over issues and money and yada, yada, yada. Well, let me begin by just saying not more than 3 minutes ago at 5:19 p.m., I just got another email from it. And I'm actually more than happy to show it to you, right? From 5:19 p.m. 5:19 p.m. Just got it 4 minutes ago now. You imagine this? But what they want to do, what the trolls want to do, is they want to make you doubt everything. They want to make you doubt that this election was a free and fair election, that Donald Trump is going to be an illegitimate president. In essence, what they're trying to do is to continue to stir up more chaos, more divisiveness, and so on. No. Unlike what happened in 2020, Kamala Harris got up. She made a concession speech. Joe Biden invited Trump to the White House, as Ben said, like a gentleman, like all presidents before him, except for one. And he accepted. And my understanding from people on the inside was that it was actually a pretty congenial type of a meeting. But I have a real issue with the misinformation, disinformation, malinformation by these fucking trolls that solely exist within which to sow more chaos, more hatred, more divisiveness between us all. And we cannot allow them to do that. Whether you think that Donald Trump should be president or not is irrelevant. He is going to be the president on January 20th. Whether or not you think that Thune is going to stop some of these nominations and so on, not unless some Republicans get on board with the Democrats, because stupids, right? What ended up happening is enough people voted for Republicans who now not only control the Senate, the White House, soon they will probably as well control the House. And we already know that they control the Supreme Court. So if you think that listening to these trolls and trying to talk about, oh, well, do you think that there were issues with the voting machines, or did Elon Musk use satellites to change it? Do you realize that you sound exactly like the people that we made fun of in 2020? And so to these trolls that are doing this, that are putting these messages in the minds of Americans, fuck you. Fuck you.
And I'll say this, Cohen. I mean, look, I think that right now, where the time needs to be spent, though, is coalition building. We've already, the time for looking back at what happened and what could have been is over. And now is the time where leaders need to lead. And, I view my role as a leader in this network to do just that, to lead, to learn from what happened in the past, but to be a voice of what can we do together to provide all the data and information, to build a corporate media network with a foundation rooted in truth and evidence and facts that really doesn't exist out there. And we're going to do our part and have our lane to do that. There needs to be leaders who step up within the Democratic Party, within the pro-democracy community, who need to recognize the importance of authenticity, of speaking to the American people and not just taking for granted because you've implemented policies that on paper positively impact people's lives, that people will feel it. You have to let people know that you feel for them as well. You have to look people in the eye and let them know that you truly care about their situation, that you hear them loud and clear, that you understand that for them, day-to-day life can be difficult, that their ability to obtain the American dream is out of reach for many Americans. And you also have to, though, not speak in ambiguous terms about moving forward and progress and the future. You do also have to remind people, though, and let them know why the pain and suffering is there. Because in that void, the people who cause the pain and suffering are there lying to them and saying, nope, your pain and suffering is caused from all of these things other than the real basic reality that these billionaires are out there to screw us, to screw you, to pick your pockets. That's what's going on. The billionaires, the oligarchs, they are laughing in their fancy suites and over caviar or a Mar-a-Lago, laughing at the people who they convinced and tricked, that it wasn't them while they were snatching their wallets from their pockets. We have to speak to the people again, in clear terms, not big words. Just let them know it was these billionaires who caused the suffering, and they're now getting richer off of you. That's my final take, though, Cohen. Cohen.
You know, one of the things that I keep hearing from pundits on mainstream or lamestream media, cable news, in 2 years from now, historically, what generally happens is the House and the Senate ultimately turn to the party that's not in power, because especially things are going to go absolute bonkers, especially over as a result of tariffs or some of the other processes. Imagine that you're pregnant today. Imagine this. And your kid's born, and usually within like the first 7 to 10 days, you know, you give your kids the measles, mumps, rubella, the polio vaccination, and so on. And now under an RFK ruling, there is no more of these vaccinations. What are you going to have to do? Go to the black market to get it and give it to the kid yourself? Okay, maybe I would. But then hypothetically, you're one of these anti-vaxxers. And then God forbid, a million times your kid contracts measles, mumps, rubella, things that you don't see anymore. Or polio, God forbid. Now what? Now tell me, now what? That affliction stays with them forever. Because why? Because you listen to one person who has absolutely no understanding of epidemiology whatsoever, and that we have been so successful for the last like 30, 40 years in basically knocking measles, mumps, rubella, polio out of the system altogether. None of this makes any sense. Economically, medically, spiritually, none of this makes any sense to me. And I'm so angry, and I'm so confused and concerned as to what the next 2 years, 4 years will bring. My only hope is that it's not as bad as what everybody's anticipating. That's my hope.
Well, we're not passive observers. We are actors who need to act, who need to be proactive, and being proactive is what we're going to do here on this network. And so, you know, we have to build as we keep growing. I'll give you an example of one thing that we can do. When there are bloody mass deportations, can we work with groups that will reach out to us when that's taking place? When corporate media isn't covering it, can we get cameras there? Can we try to provide as much assistance as we can there? And can we shed light on what's going on so that it's not being concealed? Can we build out a network of people across the country where you see these incidents taking place, document it, photograph it, hold people accountable, and can we build that out? You know, look, I remain confident that even despite all this mess, all of the negativity right now, I remain confident that we will prevail ultimately. And when I say we, decency, humanity, progress, and I think people will reflect that this was a horrible mistake that they made in voting against their interests. But, you know, every day we're going to be here, a voice of calm, a voice of reason, a voice of fact, a voice on your side. So thank you, Michael Cohen. We'll see everybody next time on Political Beatdown. Make sure you all subscribe to Michael Cohen's YouTube channel at The Michael Cohen Show. Subscribe to patreon.com/Political Beatdown. We'll be doing a live Zoom meeting then. Make sure you subscribe to the Mea Culpa podcast, the Mea Culpa Blue, not the red, the blue one, wherever you get audio podcast. And we'll be back soon. We got the Brother Show tonight at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. We'll see you then. Cohen, always a pleasure. See you next time, everybody. Shout out Brigader. Shout out to the Midas Mighty.